John Miller stared at the computer screen, his eyes wide with disbelief. The pattern was there again. For 3 nights in a row, the same signal had appeared during his shift at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. It wasn't random noise or a glitch in the equipment. The signal came from somewhere near the Ta-CD system, and it was definitely artificial. Dr. Walsh needs to see this, he muttered to himself. John had worked at the observatory for 7 years. He was known as the quiet one, the guy who preferred the company of stars to people. But now, his hands trembled as he saved the data to a flash drive. This could change everything. The next morning, Susan Walsh looked up from her desk with tired eyes as John entered her office. "You said it was important, John." "I found something, Dr. Walsh. A pattern. It repeats every 74 minutes. It's not natural." Susan sighed. The observatory received dozens of false alarms every year from eager astronomers hoping to make first contact. "Show me," she said. John connected his flash drive to her computer and pulled up the data. He pointed to the screen. "See these peaks? They follow a mathematical sequence, prime numbers, and here's the same pattern from 3 nights in a row." Susan leaned closer, her skepticism fading as she studied the data. "Have you told anyone else?" "No. I wanted you to verify it first." Susan nodded. "Good. If this is what I think it is, we need to be careful about how we proceed." Within 24 hours, scientists from around the world were examining John's discovery. The signal grew stronger each day, as if whatever was sending it was getting closer. On the 5th day, Alan Russo, a linguist from MIT, made a breakthrough. He was brought in when the signal began transmitting what appeared to be symbols rather than just mathematical sequences. "It's a language," Alan told the crowded conference room. "The symbols correlate to hydrogen wavelengths. They're using universal constants as a key." "Can you translate it?" Susan asked. Alan smiled. "Parts of it, yes. They're sending star charts, coordinates, and references to something called the concordance." "The concordance," John repeated. "Like an agreement." "Or an alliance," Alan suggested. "Or maybe that's what they call themselves." The news leaked despite attempts to keep it quiet. Within days, the world knew that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Religious leaders debated the theological implications. Military commanders held emergency meetings. Ordinary people looked up at the night sky with new wonder and fear. The coordinates pointed to an object approaching our solar system. Telescopes around the world turned to focus on that spot of space. They found a small vessel, unlike any spacecraft humans had built, moving at incredible speed toward Earth. World leaders argued about how to respond. Some wanted to broadcast welcome messages. Others suggested deploying nuclear weapons. In the end, they agreed to form an international committee to prepare for first contact. John found himself pulled from his comfortable routine of night shifts and quiet observations. Now he sat in meetings with generals and politicians, trying to explain what little they knew about the approaching visitors. "The object will reach Earth orbit in approximately 7 days," he told the United Nations Security Council. "Based on its trajectory and speed, it appears to be decelerating for orbital insertion." "Is it a threat?" asked the American representative. John hesitated. "We don't know. The message contains no threats, but also no clear statement of peaceful intentions." As the days passed, strange signals were detected from the moon's dark side. Something had landed there without anyone noticing. Military satellites were repositioned. Fighter jets remained on standby. When the alien vessel finally appeared in Earth's sky, it was smaller than expected, about the size of a commercial airplane. It took position in geosynchronous orbit and went silent for 24 hours. Then it sent a new message, this time in perfect English. "Prepare to receive the ambassador of the Galactic Concordance. We come with important news regarding your world's future." The world held its breath as the alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere. It landed in a cleared area at the United Nations headquarters in New York, surrounded by military personnel from a dozen nations. News cameras broadcast the event live to billions of viewers. Gregory Holt stood at the front of the reception committee. 6 months ago, he had been leading Navy SEAL missions. Now he headed the newly formed United Nations First Contact Division. His team consisted of experts in diplomacy, linguistics, and military strategy, all chosen for their ability to stay calm under pressure. Remember, Greg told his team through their earpieces, no sudden movements. The ship's exterior was smooth and silver, without visible windows or doors. Suddenly, a section of the hull shimmered and vanished, creating an opening. A tall figure emerged. The alien looked almost human, except for the blue tint to its skin and the extra joint in its fingers. It wore a simple gray uniform with an emblem that matched one of the symbols from the transmitted messages. "I am Ambassador Xylos of the Galactic Concordance," the alien said in perfect English. "I bring greetings from the 12,000 worlds of our domain." Lisa Pearson stepped forward. As the chief diplomat on Greg's team, she had prepared for this moment her entire career, though she had never imagined it would involve an extraterrestrial. "Ambassador Xylos, Earth welcomes you. I am Lisa Pearson, representing the United Nations of Earth." The next few hours passed in a blur of introductions and formal protocols. The world's leaders gathered in the General Assembly Hall to hear what the ambassador had to say. "The Concordance has observed your world for some time," Xylos explained from the podium. "Your development of basic space travel and nuclear technology has brought you to our attention. We come with an offer of protection and guidance." Greg noticed the careful choice of words. Not cooperation or friendship, but protection. He exchanged a glance with Lisa, who subtly nodded. She had caught it too. "Earth lies in a sector of space that has strategic importance," Xylos continued. "A rebellious faction known as the Liberation Front contests our authority in neighboring systems. For mutual security, the Concordance proposes to establish a military presence on your planet." Murmurs spread through the assembly. The American president stood up. "What kind of military presence are we talking about?" "A modest one," Xylos replied. "Several bases, defensive installations, and a communications hub, all staffed by Concordance personnel, of course." "And if we decline this offer?" asked the Chinese premier. The ambassador's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "That would be unwise. The Liberation Front would certainly target an unprotected world. The Concordance cannot allow such a strategic position to fall into enemy hands." Greg felt a chill run down his spine. The message was clear: accept our occupation or face worse consequences. Later, in a secure conference room, Earth's leaders debated their options. "They're not asking permission," Lisa said. "This is a notification of what they intend to do." "Can we fight them?" someone asked. Greg shook his head. Based on their technology level, it would be like spears against stealth bombers. "Then we stall," the American president decided. "Ask for time to consider their proposal. Request more information, technical exchanges, cultural sharing. Anything to buy us time." Lisa met with Ambassador Xylos the next day. "My leaders are intrigued by your proposal," she said with a diplomatic smile. "But such arrangements require careful consideration. We request a period of 6 months for cultural and technological exchange before making formal agreements." Xylos studied her for a long moment. "The Concordance can allow 3 months. Our fleet must secure this sector before the next stellar cycle." "Fleet?" Lisa asked, keeping her voice even. "Yes, the protection force is already en route. I am merely the advance envoy." As Lisa reported back to the Emergency Council, the gravity of the situation became clear. Earth had 3 months before a powerful alien armada arrived, an armada that expected to take control of their planet. "We need to prepare," Greg said grimly, "not just diplomatically, but for all possibilities." No one disagreed. As they dispersed to their respective countries to begin preparations, none of them noticed the small drone that had been watching from outside the window, a drone that wasn't of Concordance design. Kate Blackwood didn't trust people. She preferred the company of her horses and the wide Montana sky. 10 years ago, she had been a top scientist at a government research lab until a disagreement about ethics led to her resignation. Now she lived on a ranch that served as a cover for her real work, building quantum communication devices in her underground lab. Kate sat in her dimly lit basement, surrounded by humming machines. Her latest invention had picked up strange signals between the ambassador's ship and somewhere deep in space. She had broken their encryption 3 days ago. "Oh no," she whispered as she read the latest transmission. The message was clear. The Concordance fleet wasn't coming to protect Earth. They planned to reduce Earth's population and harvest its resources. Humans were considered expendable. Kate immediately sent encrypted messages to her few trusted contacts in the government. Within hours, military leaders around the world received the alarming news. In Washington, D.C., Greg Holt read Kate's report with growing dread. "Are we sure this is accurate?" he asked his team. "Miss Blackwood's technology is years beyond anything we have," an advisor replied. "If she says this is what they're planning, I believe her." Greg called an emergency meeting with world leaders. They had less than 2 months before the Concordance fleet arrived. "We need to prepare for war," the Russian president said bluntly. "Against an enemy that can cross galaxies." The Indian prime minister asked, "What chance do we have?" Their grim discussion was interrupted when all electronic devices in the room suddenly went dark. Then, just as suddenly, they came back to life. On every screen appeared the same message. "Earth has been marked for conquest. I can help. Find my gift." The strange message was followed by coordinates pointing to a location in the Arctic. A team was assembled immediately. Greg insisted on leading it personally. They flew to a remote research station in northern Greenland, where scientists reported a strange object had appeared out of nowhere. Jack Rivera was already there when they arrived. Jack was a brilliant physicist with a troubled past. He had spent 3 years in prison for hacking government databases, but his expertise in quantum mechanics made him invaluable now. It just materialized inside a locked room. The station director explained as he led them to a secure lab. No alarms were triggered. It was simply there. In the center of the lab sat a crystalline object about the size of a basketball. It glowed with a soft blue light. "Have you touched it?" Greg asked. "No one has gone near it," the director replied. "We followed quarantine protocols." Jack stepped forward, ignoring protocol. "It's not radioactive or biologically active. I've been scanning it for hours." He circled the object with intense fascination. "This technology is incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen." "Who sent it?" Greg demanded. "Was it this sentinel from the message?" "I believe so," Jack replied. "And I think I know what it is." He pointed to patterns etched into the crystal's surface. "These look like technical schematics. I think someone is giving us a weapon." As they studied the strange gift, Kate's monitoring systems in Montana detected another transmission from the ambassador's ship. This time it was sending landing coordinates to the approaching fleet, perfect locations for invasion forces to establish bases all over Earth. Meanwhile, in a secret facility beneath the Pentagon, Lisa Pearson continued diplomatic talks with Ambassador Xylos, who remained unaware that humans had intercepted his communications. "My people are very interested in learning more about the Concordance's culture," Lisa said with a practiced smile. "There will be time for cultural exchange after the protection force arrives," Xylos replied. "Your people will need to relocate from several regions to accommodate our bases." "Relocate?" Lisa asked, maintaining her composure. "How many people, and from which regions?" "Approximately 30% of your population," Xylos said casually. "The details will be provided when necessary." As Lisa kept the ambassador distracted, scientists around the world worked frantically to understand the crystal artifact. Earth had less than 60 days to prepare for an invasion by a vastly superior force. Their only hope lay in the mysterious gift from an unknown ally. Never before had the nations of Earth worked together with such unity. Old enemies shared military secrets. Scientists freely exchanged research. There were no borders when it came to preparing for the Concordance invasion. The crystalline artifact was moved to a secure underground facility in Switzerland. The best minds from every country gathered there to study it. But progress was slow. The technology was so advanced it might as well have been magic. "We're running out of time," Greg said during a video conference with world leaders. "The fleet will be here in 47 days. "What about our own weapons?" asked the French president. "Nuclear missiles, fighter jets." "Useless," Kate replied from her lab in Montana. "Based on the transmissions I've intercepted, their shields can withstand far more than we can throw at them." Hope came from an unexpected source. Daniel Wright was a 32-year-old engineer from a small town in Ohio. He had no fancy degrees or government connections. What he had was an unusual way of seeing problems. When the global call went out for ideas, Daniel submitted a proposal that caught the attention of the scientific team. Within days, he was flown to Switzerland. Daniel stood nervously before the crystal, surrounded by Nobel Prize winners and military officials. "It reminds me of old computer circuits," he said softly. "But instead of electricity, it uses light." "We know that," snapped a frustrated physicist. "But we can't interface with it." "I think we can," Daniel replied. "Not with computers, but with simple prisms and mirrors." At first, they thought he was crazy. But Daniel was persistent. He set up a makeshift laboratory using basic optical equipment. To everyone's surprise, the crystal responded to his simple light patterns. It projected a hologram showing detailed blueprints. "It's some kind of weapon system," Daniel explained as the scientists gathered around. "But we need to adapt it to work with our technology." While Daniel led the engineering effort, Amy Chen organized Earth's defensive strategy. Amy was a military genius who had studied ancient and modern warfare. Now she faced the greatest challenge of her career, planning a defense against an enemy with vastly superior technology. "We can't win by conventional means," she told the Joint Chiefs of Staff. "But we can use our planet to our advantage. They want Earth intact, which limits their options." Amy's plan required precise coordination between all of Earth's armed forces. Every nation would need to play its part perfectly when the time came. Meanwhile, underground bunkers were built to protect as many civilians as possible. Food and supplies were stockpiled. Children were taught what to do if the aliens came. Ambassador Xylos remained in New York, unaware that humans knew the truth about the Concordance's plans. Each day, Lisa met with him, pretending to work out details for the Protection Force arrival. "We're preparing accommodation for your troops," she told him with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Excellent," Xylos replied. "The Concordance appreciates your cooperation." What Xylos didn't know was that the accommodations were actually elaborate traps. Every landing zone the ambassador requested was being prepared with hidden weapons and sensors. In Switzerland, Daniel made a breakthrough. By using Earth's simple technologies in creative ways, he managed to activate parts of the crystal's blueprints. Workers began building strange devices according to the plans. No one fully understood how they would work, but they followed the instructions exactly. "It's like building a television without knowing what electricity is," Daniel explained to Greg. "We're following the blueprint, but the principles behind it are beyond our science." As the Concordance fleet entered the outer solar system, Kate's monitoring systems picked up increased communications. The invaders were discussing their plans openly now, confident that humans couldn't intercept their signals. "They'll reach Earth in 18 days, Kate reported. "And they're bringing thousands of ships." Daniel looked up from his work, exhaustion clear on his face. "We need more time." "We don't have it," Greg replied grimly. "Whatever you're building needs to be ready when they arrive." Earth's last hope rested on a mysterious gift from an unknown ally and the ingenious adaptations of a small-town engineer who saw connections others missed. Olivia Hunter saw the world differently than most people. She had synesthesia, a condition that made her brain connect senses in unusual ways. Numbers had colors. Sounds had shapes. This made her an excellent quantum physicist, able to visualize complex patterns that others could only understand through equations. When Olivia was brought to the facility in Switzerland, she immediately noticed something about the crystal that everyone else had missed. "It's not a weapon," she said after studying it for less than an hour. "It's a communication device." The team stared at her in disbelief. "But the blueprints clearly show some kind of energy emitter," Daniel protested. Olivia shook her head. "That's just one component. Look at the whole system." She pointed to different parts of the holographic blueprint. "These aren't weapon parts. They're meant to create a network, to connect minds across vast distances." Greg looked skeptical. "How does that help us against an invasion fleet?" "I don't know yet," Olivia admitted. "But I think we need to build it as designed and see what happens." They worked day and night. The device took shape, a strange mixture of the alien crystal technology and Earth's simple electronics. Daniel's engineering skills proved vital in making the two systems work together. When they finally activated it, nothing seemed to happen at first. Then Olivia felt a strange sensation, like a voice in her head, but not quite words. "There's something there," she whispered. "Someone is trying to reach us." The scientists adjusted the settings, following Olivia's intuitive guidance. Suddenly, a holographic image appeared above the device, a tall, elegant being with features that seemed both plant and animal. "I am Nyx," the being said, "guardian of the free worlds and enemy of the concordance." For the next hour, Nyx revealed the truth about Earth's place in the galaxy. Long ago, an advanced civilization had flourished on Earth. They were called the Ancestors, and they had built a vast network of peaceful worlds. Then the concordance rose to power, Nyx explained. They destroyed the Ancestors in a terrible war. A few survivors remained on Earth, hiding their technology and blending with the primitive humans of that time. Olivia listened in awe. "Are you saying we have ancestor DNA in us?" "Yes," Nyx confirmed. "All humans carry fragments of ancestor genetic code. It lies dormant until activated. That is why the concordance fears your world, not for its strategic position, but because of what humans might become if they ever access their ancestral memories." Greg stepped forward. "Can these ancestral memories help us fight the concordance?" "They can," Nyx said. "The device you have built is not a weapon, but a key. It can unlock the dormant knowledge within human DNA. The ancestors hid their most advanced technology inside their own genetic code, passing it down through generations. The implications were enormous. If what Nyx said was true, humans carried within them the knowledge to defeat the concordance. But time was running out. "The fleet will arrive in 12 days, Kate reported from Montana. "They've accelerated their approach." Nyx's hologram flickered. "You must complete the network quickly. Place nodes at these locations around your planet." A map appeared showing 20 points spread across Earth. The world leaders agreed to the plan, though many remained skeptical. Small teams were dispatched to position the nodes, devices built according to Nyx's specifications. Meanwhile, Ambassador Xylos became suspicious. The humans seemed too calm as the fleet approached. He sent a secret message requesting immediate extraction, but before his ship could leave orbit, it was disabled by a focused EMP burst. Technology Kate had developed based on intercepted concordance signals. "The ambassador has been contained," Greg informed the Emergency Council. "But the main fleet is still coming." In Switzerland, Olivia worked with Nyx to prepare the final activation sequence for the global network. If it worked, humans around the world would suddenly access knowledge locked inside their own DNA, knowledge of technology far beyond anything the concordance possessed. "What if it doesn't work?" Daniel asked, voicing everyone's fear. "Then humanity falls," Nyx replied simply. "As many worlds have fallen before." The countdown to invasion continued. Earth's fate now depended on ancient memories hidden within human genes, waiting to be awakened. Time was running out. The Concordance fleet would reach Earth in just 7 days. All 20 nodes of the network had been placed around the world, from the peaks of the Himalayas to the depths of the Amazon rainforest. Everything was ready for activation. "We can only do this once," Olivia warned the gathered leaders. "The energy required is enormous. If it fails, we won't get a second chance." Greg looked at the faces around him. Scientists, soldiers, and politicians from every nation, all united by the threat of extinction. "Do it," he said. Olivia and Daniel worked side by side in putting the final commands into the master node in Switzerland. The crystal at its center began to pulse with blue light. Around the world, the other nodes activated in sequence. "Network synchronization at 80%, Daniel reported. 90%. We're ready." Olivia took a deep breath and pressed the activation key. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of energy pulsed outward from each node, invisible but felt by every human on the planet as a brief tingling sensation. For several seconds, there was silence. Had it failed? Then reports began flooding in from around the world. Ordinary people were suddenly building extraordinary things. A farmer in Kansas constructed a gravity manipulation device from spare tractor parts. A schoolteacher in Egypt built a particle shield using household electronics. A child in Japan drew perfectly detailed schematics for a weapon that could disable concordant ships. The ancestral memories had awakened. Jack Rivera felt it too. While studying the crystal in his lab, his mind suddenly filled with knowledge he had never learned. He understood exactly how the quantum communication network functioned. Without hesitation, he began modifying it to serve as an early warning system. Paul Winters was grading science tests in his Nebraska high school when the wave hit him. 1 minute he was marking papers, the next he was drawing designs for a gravity manipulation system that could deflect incoming ships. He rushed to his garage and began building it from ordinary materials that somehow functioned in extraordinary ways. All across Earth, humans accessed the genetic memories of their ancestor forebears. Technologies long forgotten were reborn in garages, workshops, and laboratories. People who had never met began working together, guided by shared ancient knowledge. In the White House Situation Room, Amy Chen watched the reports with growing hope. "It's working," she said. "People are building defensive systems all over the planet." But the awakening didn't go unnoticed. The Concordance fleet detected the energy surge from the network. Ambassador Xylos, though contained, managed to send a short transmission from a hidden device. "They know what's happening," Kate warned from her Montana lab. "The fleet has increased speed. They'll be here in 3 days, not 7. Greg immediately activated the Global Defense Protocol. Amy's carefully planned strategy was put into motion. Military forces worldwide moved to protect the civilian engineers who were building the new technologies. Thylos was brought to the Switzerland facility under heavy guard. He seemed untroubled by his capture. "Your primitive awakening is too late," he told Greg. "The Concordance has faced ancestor technology before. We destroyed it once. We will destroy it again." "This time is different," Olivia replied. "The knowledge isn't in machines that can be broken. It's in us." Silos lunged suddenly, reaching for the master node. Hidden weapons emerged from his fingertips. Guards fired, but their bullets bounced off an invisible shield around him. Daniel reacted instinctively, using knowledge he hadn't possessed days ago. He grabbed a simple device he had built that morning and pointed it at Silos. A pulse of energy shot out, freezing the ambassador in place. "Quantum stasis field," Daniel explained, surprised at his own knowledge. "He's conscious but can't move." With Xylos neutralized, Earth continued its frantic preparations. The scattered pieces of ancestor technology were slowly forming a cohesive defense system. Satellites were modified to detect concordant ships. Shields began to form over major cities. But would it be enough? The Concordance fleet had conquered thousands of worlds. They had experience fighting ancestor technology, and they were coming with overwhelming force. Earth had 3 days to prepare for the greatest battle in human history. They appeared like dark stars at first, tiny points of light visible in daylight. Then they grew larger as they approached Earth. Thousands of Concordance warships filled the sky, their massive hulls blocking out the sun in some areas. "They're here." Kate's voice came through the global communication network, which now operated on principles far beyond traditional radio or internet. Earth was as ready as it could be. In just 3 days, humans had built defenses that would normally take decades to develop. Shield generators protected major cities. Weapons that could affect ships in orbit had been placed strategically around the planet. The Concordance opened communications on all frequencies. Their message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. Greg stood in the Global Command Center, which had been quickly built beneath the Swiss facility. Representatives from every nation waited for his order. Amy Chen's defensive plan was ready to execute. "No surrender," Greg said. "Begin Operation Ancestor." The first wave of Concordance ships entered the atmosphere. They targeted power plants, military bases, and communication centers, the standard first strikes of any invasion. But they found their weapons absorbed by shields that shouldn't have existed. Laura Diaz commanded the hastily retrofitted space station Artemis. Once an international scientific platform, it was now Earth's first line of defense. Laura had been an astronaut before the crisis. Now she was a military commander. "All sections report ready," her second-in-command told her. "Launch countermeasures," Laura ordered. From the station, dozens of small devices shot toward the Concordance fleet. They were based on Paul Winter's gravity manipulation system, modified to work in space. When they reached the enemy ships, they created localized gravity distortions that pulled the ships off course. On the ground, humanity's resistance shocked the invaders. Instead of finding helpless primitives, the Concordance troops faced weapons they hadn't seen in thousands of years, weapons of ancestor design, wielded by humans who suddenly knew how to use them. The Concordance flagship, a massive vessel twice the size of the largest human aircraft carrier, broke through Earth's upper atmosphere over North America. Its goal was to land and establish the main control center for the occupation. Daniel Wright piloted the prototype interceptor he had helped create. It was cobalt blue, shaped like a teardrop, and contained technology that blended human innovation with ancestor knowledge. 5 similar craft flew beside him, piloted by test pilots who had received rush training. "Remember, we only get one shot at this," Daniel told his squadron. "The disruption payload has to be delivered directly to their command center." The small interceptors were nearly invisible to Concordance sensors, thanks to technology Kate had developed. They approached the massive flagship undetected. Meanwhile, across Earth, the battle raged. Concordance forces landed in several locations, only to face determined resistance. In Egypt, farmers wielding makeshift energy weapons held off alien troops. In Brazil, a shield dome protected the rainforest from orbital bombardment. Not all was going well, though. Several cities had fallen. The Concordance's superior numbers were overwhelming some defenses, and their technology was adapting to the ancestor-inspired weapons. "We're losing Boston and Sydney," Amy reported grimly. "Shanghai is under heavy attack." Greg knew their only hope was Daniel's mission. If they could disable the flagship, the invasion force would lose coordination. Daniel's squadron reached the flagship and immediately came under fire. 2 interceptors exploded. A third was damaged and forced to turn back. "We're not going to make it through their defenses," Daniel's wingman said over the comm. Daniel thought quickly. "Follow me into that exhaust port. Their sensors can't target us inside their own ship." It was a desperate move, but they had no choice. Daniel led the remaining interceptors into the massive opening. Concordance internal defenses fired at them as they flew through narrow maintenance tunnels. One by one, the other interceptors were hit. Soon, Daniel flew alone, carrying humanity's hopes in his small craft. The ship's main reactor was just ahead, the perfect place to deploy the quantum disruption payload that would disable a flagship. Behind him, Concordance security ships closed in. Ahead, a barrier began to close. Daniel pushed his craft to maximum speed, aiming for the narrowing gap. Daniel's interceptor barely squeezed through the closing barrier. Alarms blared as he approached the flagship's main reactor. He armed the quantum disruption payload and prepared to release it. "For Earth," he whispered, and pressed the launch button. The small device shot from his craft and attached to the reactor core. Daniel pulled up sharply, racing back through the tunnels as the countdown began. He had 60 seconds to escape before the device activated. Above Earth, the battle continued. Laura's space station was taking heavy damage. Cities burned. Humanity fought bravely, but the Concordance's numbers seemed endless. In the Swiss command center, John Miller, the astronomer who had first detected the alien signal months ago, made a startling discovery. "The original message," he said, studying the data. "There was something hidden in it that we missed." John had been analyzing the very first signal from space, looking for any clue that might help. Now he saw a pattern within the pattern, an activation sequence embedded in the original transmission. "Nix hid this in the first message," John explained to Greg and Olivia. "It's coordinates for something buried on Earth." The coordinates pointed to locations in the Atlantic Ocean, the Sahara Desert, and 5 other spots around the world. When John entered them into the master control system, a new hologram appeared, a complete map of Earth with 7 points glowing brightly. "There's some kind of hidden installations," Olivia realized. "Ancestor technology buried on Earth for thousands of years. Can we activate them?" Greg asked. John nodded. "I think that's exactly what this sequence is for." With the battle raging above, John input the activation code. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground began to shake. All across Earth, massive structures rose from the sea and erupted from beneath the land. In the Atlantic, a huge platform emerged, water cascading from its ancient surfaces. In the Sahara, sand fell away as a tower pushed upward toward the sky. Similar structures appeared in China, Australia, Brazil, Canada, and Russia. As they rose, the structures glowed with blue energy, the same energy that powered the crystal nodes. Lines of light connected them, forming a network that encircled the planet. In orbit, Daniel's mission succeeded. The quantum disruption payload activated, sending waves of energy through the Concordance flagship. Its systems failed. The massive ship drifted powerless in space. But the other Concordance vessels continued their attack. That's when the 7 ancestor structures unleashed their power. A shimmering energy field expanded outward from each one, joining together to create a planetary shield unlike anything seen before. The Concordance weapons could not penetrate it. Their ships that tried to push through were pushed back or destroyed. For the first time in the battle, the invaders began to retreat. In the Swiss facility, the captured ambassador Xylos watched in disbelief. "Impossible," he said. "The planetary defense system was destroyed millennia ago." "Not destroyed," Greg replied. "Hidden, waiting for humanity to remember." With their flagship disabled and the planetary shield in place, the Concordance fleet had no choice but to withdraw. They took up positions beyond the moon, regrouping for what would surely be another attack. Greg and Kate led a team to board the drifting flagship. They found their way to the command center, where the Concordance High Commander waited. "You have won a battle," the commander said. "Not the war. The Concordance rules 12,000 worlds. We will return with forces you cannot imagine." "When you do," Greg replied, "we'll be ready. Earth is not just another world for you to conquer. We are the descendants of the ancestors, and we've remembered who we are." As the High Commander was taken into custody, Nix's hologram appeared one last time. "You have done well," Nix said. "Earth has taken its first step back onto the galactic stage. My people will contact you soon. The Alliance of Free Worlds welcomes you." The Concordance fleet retreated beyond Neptune. Earth had won its first interstellar battle, but the war was just beginning. Humanity would need to learn more about their ancestor heritage and prepare for the next attack. John Miller looked up at the night sky. The stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable. They were destinations, homes to allies and enemies alike. After thousands of years, humans had remembered their place in the galaxy. And the galaxy would never be the same.